if we're canceling Dr. Seuss, I think that like Pepe Le Pew should have been way higher up on that chopping block.
Canceled.
Well, okay, whatever they're doing with Dr. Seuss.
They decided on their own, the people who were in charge of the Dr. Seuss estate, to just stop publishing 6 books.
Yeah, I don't agree with that.
That's how it begins. That's how it begins.
Man, look, look. This is where I firmly stand on this. When a company that owns something says they're going to do something with that product, that's on them.
How long have the books been around?
When the writer of those,
look, if you even go,
I'm asking. Just answer the question. How long?
Those books have been around since the 1930s.
So now suddenly they're racist.
With that, no, not at all. They were racist when they did them.
So then why has there not been no outrage for the past 80 years?
But if you go and actually research what the real Dr. Seuss had to say about those books, then it would make sense that the estate is doing what it did. Because Dr. Seuss himself said that he was embarrassed
with no respect. With no respect to the estate,
embarrassed and ashamed at those books in particular.
I have to agree with Jeremy.
No, dude. Like if you've looked at the books, I looked at the books because I was like, "Well, what's the big deal?"
Why?
I went and looked at them. Yeah, I mean, there's really no getting around that they made African people look like fucking monkeys.
So they've been racist for 90 years. So we've all been supporting racists.
Those books were racially insensitive.
Then why have they been accepted for 90 years?
Because some of those books are earlier works.
Because blue-haired Landwell on Twitter didn't decide it was offensive.
They weren't the most popular books. Look, dude, it ain't got nothing to do with Twitter.
It absolutely does.
No, it doesn't. The estate made the decision. The estate did it. Nobody asked anything about Dr. Seuss.
Let the lady speak. Respect women. I'm kidding.
No need for that. I worked in a public library, and I was actually looking into this because I was thinking of making a video to give the point of view of an actual librarian. And you notice the New York Public Library has refused to remove the books from their shelves. And we've even used to celebrate Banned Books Week at the library once a year. So I hope libraries haven't changed since I was there last. But even if it is poor portrayals, these are books. We should not be pulling them. We need them,
It's
just it goes against the librarian,
right?
But the thing was, the writer of those books is
the writer
dead.
of the books also said he was ashamed and embarrassed by those depictions.
Well, then why didn't he pull them from publishing while he was alive?
Why didn't he pull them?
He might have said that, I might not agree with those.
That's not a question. That's not a question.
It's a question you can't ask because he's dead.
Exactly,
it's not up to anyone else to decide that his words are all of a sudden ban-worthy.
Who decides it? The people that he put in charge of his estate.
No, the market decides it. The market decides it.
No, the market decides it. The company can decide to pull whatever the fuck they want. They own the IP.
Hey, I got a question for you. Yeah. Private companies can do whatever they want. We understand, but are they influenced by anything? What made them make this decision? It was just out of the blue.
The society we live in today.
Exactly, the culture. So it
had nothing to do with Twitter. Nobody on Twitter said, "Hey, let's look at Dr. Seuss." Dr. Seuss came out and made the statement publicly and said, we're not removing. We're going to stop publishing, which means from this point forward, we're not making any new copies.
So where does that end?
Why couldn't you buy it on eBay?
Yeah, where does it end?
That's eBay's decision. eBay said they're not going to let you sell it.
Exactly.
But listen. Just like
you can get Mein Kampf on Amazon.
Yeah,
just like but that's different. That's different. Mein Kampf is a literary book that is analyzed and studied by professors and historians.
People study Dr. Seuss.
Yes, they
not
do.
Those books.
Yes, they do.
Well,
why not have them around to study why they're racially insensitive?
Because dude, it's a fucking children's book. Look at the pictures. That shows you how it's insensitive.
But how do we know that that's racially insensitive 100 years from now?
Are you kidding me, dude?
Are you going to let me finish my question? Are you going to let me finish my question? In 100 years from now, how do we learn what's racially insensitive if you are literally eliminating it from existence?
I can't have the conversation no more.
How do you learn from it?
You're sitting here asking me, an African, how
do you learn from it if it doesn't exist anymore?
You can show a picture of it and say, this is incorrect.
Who shows the picture?
How many different depictions of Africans as monkeys
Who shows the picture?
You fucking need to know that it's not right to fucking show?
If you can't get it, how do you show the picture?
What do you
They're
mean,
eliminating
dude?
it.
You think Dr. Seuss is the only spot where they drew Africans as monkeys?
No, the point is if you eliminate this, how do you learn from it?
You can, dude. This is the fucking information world. This is the information age. You can go up on fucking Google right now and type in Dr. Seuss African people, and the pictures from that book will pop up this moment. So what do you mean?
Kat's been trying to talk. Go.
Well, I mean, first of all, the fact that eBay pulled them. You could get a scalped PlayStation 5 or an Xbox Series X at 5 times the
has nothing to do with racism.
No, but the fact that, people are being, people who really want the copies can't get them.
Legal?
Yeah, it's legal, but so are these books. I've listened to Nick Rekieta's law, and he said that there is no hate speech in the Constitution. And I mean, in a way, it's actually kind of funny because I'm also African. I'm actually more African because my family's directly from Egypt.
My family's directly from Nigeria.
So then you're one of the unique cases. I'm sorry, but I just, as a librarian, it goes against everything to pull a book. I can understand it. I mean, why don't I go back and say we should pull all the Call of Duty games that take place in the Middle East?
Completely different context. Completely different context.
No,
they're not showing.
No, it's not.
Look, they're not showing. What is their representation of an Arabic person in Call of Duty? There may be a villain who is Arabic, but I'm sure there's also a hero who is Arabic as well. Just as there was in Modern Warfare.
No, my father.
Modern.
My father hates those games. I have no problem. I understand that those are the villains, but I know a lot of Muslims who really hate them.
And I don't dispute that they hate them, but I point to what is the context in which they hate the game, because it simply shows an Arabic person as a villain. Well, on our end, we're not shown as villains. We're shown as not human. We're shown as not humans. We're shown as subhuman. 3/5 law, where we weren't even considered humans legally for 150 years. So there's a much deeper reasoning and logic behind why something like what you see in Dr. Seuss comes off the shelves at the request of the publisher themselves.
I understand, but where does it end? When is the next thing we're going to pull? It's better to put something on the book, say that this is not how we think, but we can't keep pulling books because who's the one to judge what is next? Like I said,
let the people who've gone through it judge, right? Like, what are you going to tell? Are you going to tell people that because you were a slave, or because your ancestors were slaves, that was 150, 60 years ago, you shouldn't be offended anymore now that you have the right to vote? Now that you have the right to participate in the country that you've been deemed a second-class citizen of, and at a certain point, a slave for 400 plus years. So now you don't have any right to be offended anymore, or there's no deep cultural wounds that still exist because you've been free for 150 years. That's irrational.
Why was President Obama and Michelle Obama reading Dr. Seuss books to kids 4 years ago?
The book that they were even speaking of, the book that Obama was even speaking of, was a book that literally was written in direct contrast to the books and in response to the books that Dr. Seuss had made back in the 30s.
But it was still created by a supposed racist.
No, listen to what I'm saying. He wrote that book specifically. He re-edited that book. That book initially was going a different route and dealing more in segregation, and he rewrote the book and redesigned the book to take away the element of race and color on purpose in response to the books that he had done early in his career that he felt a certain kind of guilt about. He did that consciously. That's why, and that was the book that Obama referenced when he spoke on Dr. Seuss back in that time, during National Book Day. So there's always a deeper context that has to be paid attention to when talking about these kinds of things. You can't just try and apply one label to every single situation.
At the end of the day, the people that control the estate, they didn't just wake up and decide to do this. If you look into it, you can see that there was a push from these fucking activists who wanted to get it removed from libraries, who wanted to do all these things. And then, after feeling that pressure, they consulted a panel of experts on all these
what that means.
Racial equality and things like that. And then the experts concluded this is very harmful, needs to be taken out. then
to the impressionable
they decide to
mind,
do that.
yes, it can be harmful because you learn racism. It's not something you're born with.
Okay, hold on. But the idea that, well, they just decided that it was bad, so they took it out. No, they were feeling a bunch of pressure from a bunch of people from this cultural narrative that is going around that we need to cover up everything that happened before, that to one perspective was the wrong thing.
No, they're not covering up. They're stopping publishing. They're not telling any company that has these books that they can't sell them anymore. They're not telling any library that has these books that they can't host those books anymore. That is up for the individual companies in the individual locations to decide for themselves. That is allowing
and if you don't
the
do
free
it,
market
what happens?
to decide
what mob comes after you. The freaks come after you.
You can still go to the library and get the books. You can still go. You can still go find the books if you want.
How long do you think that's going to last, Uche? Give me an estimate. How long do you think?
What does it matter? What does it matter to you or your children that those books still exist?
It's not about that individual book. It's about what this standard represents and how it will come for literally
a society
everything.
That should be evolving past this shit. You can find it online if you want to Google it, and you can see what the actual pages and what
for
the
how
actual,
long? For how long?
Always, bro. You can
still
find pictures of Holocaust deaths, Holocaust people of people's corpses from the Holocaust to this very day. You can still find them. That's not respectful necessarily, right?
We are looking at the beginning of everything getting erased at some point.
Dude.
It's not overreaction.
It's the same way that motherfuckers said, "Oh, Obama's coming for your guns." Never came from them. It's the same way they say, "Oh, this person." Every time something happens, it's the beginning of everything about to be erased. How about somebody be able to look at something and objectively say that this shit don't need to really be a part of a child's impressionable period of their life as a youth? And see these images and think that they can associate Africa with this. That is what they're going to. That's what is. There's the potential for that kid to have happen to them. That they associate Africans with this look. They associate Asians with this look. Now I don't know about y'all. I got 2 kids, and they're biracial, Japanese and African. And I don't want them to their first images that they see that represent the social constructs that we've created in this society, to show them that their African side of their family is associated with animals, is associated with being subhumans. No, I don't want that.
And when did you come to the conclusion that Dr. Seuss needed to be pulled? When are you on record having a problem with Dr. Seuss for the first time ever?
I never read Dr. Seuss books.
I'm asking, when's the first time you were on record having a problem with Dr. Seuss portrayal?
So the only thing I ever could associate with Dr. Seuss in my life was Cat in the Hat and the Grinch.
Question. When is the first time you're on record having a problem with these Dr. Seuss books?
What does it matter, dude?
I'm just wondering.
If you show me a picture, if you show me 5 pictures of African people and one of them is a Dr. Seuss drawing, I'm going to tell you that one needs to go. Period.
I'm just wondering when this epiphany happened with you that this was such a cultural problem.
Dude, I'm African.
And that's fine. And you should have been well aware of these
African heritage.
And you should have been well aware of the internal problems that it was creating for you all of these 90 years that it's been around. But it hasn't caused one problem for you to be aware of it.
When I walk around every day in this life I live, people look at me a certain way. And I don't think twice about it.
I've literally been physically removed from basketball courts because of the color of my skin.
Come on, dude. Yeah, you've been removed from a basketball court. You've been removed from a basketball court. You've had your ass beat for wearing Jordans.
Yes.
Now apply that kind of hostility to every fucking place you ever go 24/7. 365 your entire life.
You literally literally have a better life than all of us here. You've even said it as much.
All those people were reading Dr. Seuss.
You're more successful than all of us.
You know what? Hey, okay. What did Kanye say? Just because you got money, it don't mean nothing. You still a nigga.
I mean,
no matter.
Do you have a good life?
I use myself. I use my personality. I use who I am to show people that whatever they was assuming in their head is wrong. But don't get it twisted. They still assume it in their head when they first see me. I have to break that ice. I have to cross that barrier many times to show them who they're dealing with.
Go ahead.
And I know that the cat understands that too.
I was gonna say I lived through 9/11. I literally had people throwing garbage at me and screaming and cursing at me from their cars. I was very surprised to find out that my father used to fear for mine and my mother's life right after 9/11. I get it. but at the same time, I understand. I don't want you to think I mean, I'm African myself. My entire family is in Africa, but I mean, there's a lot of negative depictions of Muslims as well out there. You know, they look at us like we're evil, we're terrorists. I go on a plane, and because I have like 5 different gaming handhelds with me, I'm always the one who's pulled over for random security checks. But I don't want content pulled from libraries, even stuff that says bad stuff about Muslims, because you don't have to show it to your kids. And I mean, my father raised me to be proud of who I am. He taught me to be an independent woman. But when we start, it isn't even about what the books are. It's the fact that when we start banning books, when is it going to end? That's why we have banned books week at the library. It's because it's subjective. Today, your popular idea, well, tomorrow might be the unpopular one. So I respect and I understand, probably more than a lot of other people, what it's like to be hated. But I can't support the pulling of books. I worked a long time in a library. And it's cool to also meet a fellow African. And on top of that, people, when they look at me, they don't see an African. They, you know.
And that's one of the things I point that out to people when they talk about, oh, they're Egyptian. I'm like, no, they're African. Egypt is in Africa. That's
most
North Africa.
That. Yeah,
most people don't realize that.
Yeah, and I want to make a point here, and look, regardless of obviously the chat's going to be disagreeing here, agreeing there, whatever. These conversations are what we what we have at Geeks and Gamers, and I do want to give a big shout out. Kat had 300 subscribers a week ago. Okay, now she's sitting on a live stream having a real discussion, with some very strong personalities, and that's a massive shout out to her. Uche is not someone that's easy to have a debate with, and I mean that because he's got such a strong personality. And I'm just saying he's a very strong, powerful personality. He's a well-known person, and for her to sit here and just be able to have a conversation, a back and forth with someone like him speaks volumes to her. So a big shout out to her just for being able to be here and be part of this. I respect where Uche's coming from, respect where Kat's coming from. Obviously, Ryan and Mark, everybody's got their take here. I'm just happy we're able to have the conversation here. I think we need to kind of wrap this up because it's a gaming podcast.
It is. We got more super.